Hello, party animals. What's up? Welcome to the third episode. Today we'll talk about ale and types of ales. And then I have planned a surprise for you. Okay, you know what? I'm really bad at keeping secrets. So let me just tell you. We have one of the top mixologists, Varun Sudhakar, joining us today. Because, I thought December has started and it's a month of party. We have Christmas and New Year's right around the corner. And cocktails are a must have in this season. So, Varun is going to teach us few really easy to make cocktail recipes. Excited? Because I really am. So, let's get this party started, shall we? A lot of options are available at any given pub thanks to the cosmic world of beer. Draught beer menus have evolved from a few typical brands to include beers from various microbreweries, and each one tastes more complex than the last. But don't worry, knowing how different types of beer taste and look can help you make your choices. So, just to revise, beer is basically categorized into lagers and ales. So, in the previous episode, we learned about lager, and today we'll talk about ale. So, now I'll take you through the history, the process, and various types of ale. The type of yeast used to produce beer is the most significant distinction between them. As we learned in the previous episode, depending on the fermentation process, a beer might be classified as a lager or an ale. Top fermentation, in which yeast ferments at warmer temperatures and settles at the top of the beer, is used to make ales. And now let's look at the history. In medieval times, ale was a vital source of sustenance. Along with pottage and bread, it was one of the three main sources of grains in the English diet around the 14th century. Small beer, also known as table beer or light beer, was a highly nutritious beverage that had just enough alcohol to act as a preservative, while also providing hydration without being intoxicating. In the medieval world, small beer would have been consumed on a regular basis by practically everyone, including children, while higher alcohol ales would be taken for recreational purposes. The lower cost for proprietors, along with lower taxes on small beer, unavoidably resulted in the sale of some strong beer that had been diluted with small beer. According to records, ale was consumed in large quantities during the Middle Ages. In 1272, a retired husband and a wife were given 2 gallons of ale every day, as well as 2 loaves of white bread and 1 loaf of brown bread. Every day, the monks at Westminster Abbey drank a gallon of ale. Henry the Lessee's household bought 85 gallons of ale per day in 1299, and Framlingham Castle consumed 78 gallons per day in 1385-86. Brewing ale was a predominantly female dominated local enterprise in the Middle Ages. Brewsters, sometimes also known as alewives, would brew in their homes for both domestic and small scale commercial purposes. Brewsters offered a significant extra income for households, yet brewing was only regarded as the principal source of income in few circumstances, such as for widows. And now let's look at modern ale. Modern ales are typically bittered with hops and they are brewed with calcium sulfate rich water, fermented with top fermenting yeast, and processed at higher temperatures. This yeast can produce a lot of esters, other secondary flavors, and aroma components. And the end result is often a beer with slightly fruity compounds that resembles apple, pear, pineapple, banana, plum, cherry, or prune. Now let's check out types of ale. There are, of course, quite a few. For today, I have added about 12 of them. First one is, of course, pale ale. Pale ales are typically hoppy but contain less alcohol than IPAs. Pale ales are malty, medium bodied, and easy to drink. They include American Amber Ale, American Pale Ale, Blonde Ale, and English Pale Ale. Next one on the list is, of course, India Pale Ale, also known as IPA, which is quite popular. Let's look at how the name came to be. The Bow Brewery in England shipped beer to India in the 19th century, including a pale ale that benefited from the long voyage and was well received by the Indian consumers. Bow and other brewers used more hops as a natural preservative to prevent spoiling. And this beer was the first of what became known as India Pale Ale or IPA style of ale. Floral, citrus, or fruity flavors are predominant in IPAs, which span a wide range of beer varieties. They can be bitter and contain a large amount of alcohol, but the end result depends on the type of hops used. Some IPAs have a distinct citrus flavor, while others are bitter and strong. West Coast IPA, British IPA, and New England style IPA are some of the popular IPA styles. Then comes Golden Ale. It is relatively similar to Pale Ale, except it is paler, brewed using lager or low temperature ale malts, and served at cooler temperatures. It was developed in the hopes of attracting younger people away from lager and toward cask ales. Golden ales range in strength from 3.5% to 5.3% alcohol. Next on the list is Scotch Ale. While Scotland produces a wide range of ales, the phrase Scotch Ale is used internationally to refer to a malty, robust drink that is amber to dark red in color. Scottish beers are sweeter, darker, and less hoppy than English beers, and the malt may be somewhat caramelized to add toffee overnotes. Light, heavy, and export are the three classic styles. Then we have barley wine. The alcohol content of barley wine ranges from 6 to 12%, with some being aged for up to 24 months. If darker malts are utilized, expect to taste massive sweet malt and ripe fruit of pear drop, orange, and lemon variety, as well as darker fruits or chocolate and coffee when drinking barley wine. High hop rates provide bitterness, peppery, grassy, or flowery qualities. Next one is mild ale. Mild ale was once synonymous with unaged ale, the direct opposite of old ale. It can be any color or strength, although the majority are dark brown and low in strength, ranging between 3 to 3.5%. Then we have Burton Ale. Burton Ale is a strong, dark, and slightly sweet brew that is sometimes blended with younger beer as a stock ale. Next one is Old Ale. In England, Old Ale was a strong brew that was stored for approximately a year and developed sharp, acidic flavors. The word is now used to describe medium strong dark beers, some of which are brewed to seem like old ales. And here comes my favorite, Belgian ale. Belgium produces a vast range of specialty ales that are hard to classify because some of the grain is replaced with sucrose that offers an alcoholic boost without adding unfermentable material to the ale. Nearly all Belgian ales are high in alcoholic content but very light in body. Now, the next one is pretty interesting. It's called cask ale. Cask ale is an unfiltered, unpasteurized beer that has been conditioned and served from a cask without the use of nitrogen or carbon dioxide. In the UK, cask ale is sometimes called as real ale. Next one is spiced ale. Traditional ales seasoned with non-traditional spices and herbs are referred to as spiced ales. These are occasionally brewed for seasons like Christmas or other holidays. And the last one on the list is strong ale. Strong ale is a sort of ale with high alcohol content, usually between 7 to 11%, and that includes a variety of beer such as old ale, barley wine, Burton ale. Strong ales are brewed in England, Belgium, and the US, among other places in Europe. So these were types of ales. I hope you guys understood at least the basics of different types of ale and what to look out for when you're at a bar next time. And now it's time to invite our guest, Varun Sudhakar. He has more than a decade of hands-on experience in luxury hospitality and global mixology trends. He has won Diageo Global Bartender of the Year award in 2013 and 14 and has represented India in quite a few global finals. He's a founder of Bar Bundle and does a lot of bar consulting and brand consulting and more such interesting work. So let's give him a warm welcome and learn about the basics of mixology. Hey Varun, hi. Welcome to the
Hi
show.
Neha, thank you so much. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us. And as I was just telling the audience that you are one of the top mixologists to look out for. Um, so why don't we, start by just simply talking about mixology and the art and science behind it?
Okay. See, it is very simple. That's what I would say. If you have passion
Mhm.
for bartending, see, all
Mhm.
these are different lines that we use, right? Bartender, mixologist.
Yeah,
So,
beverage chef.
beverage chef is very recent. I have not heard about it, but I heard this word called bar chef. But end of the
Right.
day, I believe the skill sets are same. It's just
Mhm.
that the amount of time you spend into it, or maybe you need to get a promotion. There's a designation that is being created. So,
Right.
end of the day, we have people who work with beverages to create cocktail experience or educate drinks. So, I believe, in a nutshell, this job is amazing. Like
Mhm.
it's just fun, right?
Of
You're
course.
right in front of the guest, maybe for a competition or your own bar.
Mhm.
Yeah, the best part about this job is meeting people on a daily basis.
Right, of course. Yeah, and you meet people from different walks of life, no?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of people travels around, whichever bar you work in, it doesn't matter. But people try to explore. Like, maybe a person from Delhi is coming to Bombay. They want to come and spend some time with you. Similarly, any place in the world,
Yeah.
it's fun to meet different type of people. Everybody drinks.
Of course. Yeah, that's true. There's nothing like alcohol that can bring people together.
Yeah, drink responsibly.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Okay. So, you have been in this profession for how long, Varun?
To be precise, maybe 12 years
Oh,
altogether.
wow.
Like in the sense being professionally working, it's been 12 years. Additionally, I've worked 2 years when I was in my college. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing part-time jobs on Fridays and Saturdays. So
Oh,
counting it, that was my experience time period, but it was great to
of
get
course.
a part-time job in that time period.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So, Varun, there are these classic cocktails like whiskey sour or cosmopolitan and all, and those you get at every bar. But then there are, few signature cocktails, as we call it, that are like specialty of a certain bar. So, mixologists like yourself are the people who come up with these different cocktail recipes. So, how do you guys go about it?
So you're talking about signature cocktails, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
basically usually you see it in a cocktail bar or a restaurant bar, which is specific to a cuisine. Most of the time, it is cuisine related. Like for example, I'm starting an Indian restaurant. I
Right.
will have Indian elements going inside that particular set of cocktails, which are called signature cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
Five to six of those, which is specific to that particular menu.
Right.
But if you see, if you decode it, it is like classic recipes. Then you add
Mm-hmm.
layers of flavors.
Okay.
Then elements which are maybe naming element or the garnish, the
Mm-hmm.
glassware. All of these matters, right? So
Right.
that is how sort of more or less a mixologist or a bartender or a bar chef will be thinking about how to do this activity. So the core is knowing your basics correct.
Right.
You say a daiquiri, it is rum, lime, sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Then how can you make something out of a daiquiri to spit in your signature cocktail? You think in those manner, like the balancing remains the same, but maybe the flavor components change, the glassware changes. So it's fun to work with these things.
Got it. Okay. So, have you created your signature cocktail recipes, Varun?
See, when you say signature cocktail recipes, if you say like there are signature cocktail menus we had done for, but for restaurants, for
Mm-hmm.
competition, somewhere I created some cocktails, which there is something called AB cocktail, which has been created in 2013. And
Okay.
I first went for world class, which sort of became like a few places, a few bars internationally replicated, like who were like some Indian bars in
Mm-hmm.
international uh, space. Like
Locations.
they
Mm-hmm.
they did it, they sent it across, they tried the drink. So that felt like, okay, that this can be a signature. Maybe it repeats after 3 4 years, somebody is like tags me in a posting that tried this cocktail. So feels like, okay, that might be a signature. But
Okay.
when you say a signature, it has to go in the level of classic cocktails where everybody remembers. But yeah, not in those range, but still I feel that one drink is called AB cocktail, which is had become a signature cocktail sort of thing. It's very simple. Again, it's not complicated cocktail.
Right. I was just watching Kumar Varun's Quizzing with Comedians the other day, and through that I learned that there was a chef in LA or California somewhere, and he created a mocktail which was for a child actor. She was a little girl who used to work in movies like way back in the day.
Is it called
And
Shirley's Temple?
Shirley Temple, yeah. And I had no idea that that's how the name came.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting.
So there are like a lot of drinks like that which everybody knows and replicates. Those are classic. There are modern classic cocktails also, which is recent, like an espresso martini. Like everybody knows about it. It's actually a modern classic.
Right.
It has come in such a way, and it has conquered that space of what do you say, modern classics.
True. Right. Nice. And like bartending or mixology is one of the oldest professions in the world, right?
Okay.
I mean, they were. I was watching a TED talk by one of the popular mixologists from India, Rohan Carvalho.
Rohan Carvalho, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, he is one of the most amazing bartenders, or flair bartenders in this country.
Right.
I know him personally very well. So we work together in Indian Flair Bartenders Association, which actually promotes bartending and flair bartending. And recently they're doing a lot of charity work as well. So know him very well.
Cool. So he was on one of the TED Talks, and he was saying that although it's like one of the oldest professions, it took him a little bit of convincing, for his parents to understand that he wants to get into bartending or mixology.
Understood.
So it's not like a very commonly chosen career path, right?
See, I'll tell you, it's not because it is not common or people don't get to it. The thing is, our cocktail culture is around 20 years, 25 years old compared to max to max, like the serious bartending, or people like Shabdi Basu ma'am started these trend in India. Like she was one of the best mixologists who started an institute and started teaching about it when it was tough. So it is, maybe I can say 20 years. Last 20 years is what we can say. Okay, cocktails has started in India. People are educating about it. Right. Then going ahead, last 5 years, 6 years, you see there's a major shift in the industry, especially Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Kolkata, Goa. So these places are like becoming cocktail capitals. They're like literally promoting cocktails. People are educated more. A lot of trends started. Gin and tonics, kombuchas and tequilas. So we are in those days, clarified cocktails. So these things are actually finally happening in India right now. So at this point of time, if I want to choose this as a career, I have a lot of things to show my, like, who is there, like a student want to join.
Right.
When you Google, there is a YouTube available, there is Facebook, Instagram. So you see where to go and whom to talk, who are there in Indian market. So it is very much accessible even to show people, like parents, like, okay, this is what I can do, or this is the scope of this work. Right. So when I was starting also, it was a little tough time, but my parents never stopped me from doing anything. But the problem was to say what he does.
Right.
Because people sort of have, I'm from Kerala. People might think, the first thing that comes to you is the families don't go out to drink.
Right.
And but once you're in Bombay, Delhi, or places like that, families go out, they sit together. Bar is okay. There's, even on a regular bar, people like a Shetty bar, I can say that people go and sit there and drink.
Right.
There are ladies. So certain places don't do that. It's just
Mhm.
a bar. You can go stand, have a drink, leave.
Right.
To, to change that perspective, we don't have a lot of options. Like there is no advertisement that you can do. First of all, there's no magazine that you can write about it.
Correct.
Now these things are happening in last 3 to 4 years. Digital magazines. So many
Yeah.
Indian magazines are there, like Spirits Magazine, your um, um, Alcobev,
Yeah.
then there is Brews and Spirits. So I've been I've been like get in touch with all of these people, but they are doing wonderful things in this
Mhm.
market. They are appreciating new brands coming in, cocktails. People of the industry has been written. So that is great thing that is happening recently,
Right.
right? So it is fun. Like now it is fun to get into this profession. During that time
Yes.
period, it is not too far. I'm not that old, but but access to certain cities
Right.
was pretty difficult until unless you're in a metropolitan where you know that people go out to drink.
Hmm.
Example Delhi, Gurgaon. You see, well, there's a great culture over there where you see three segments of people sitting together in separate groups, still having fun. They love
Right.
music, so that is one thing I saw in Delhi. Bombay, it's amazing. Like it is like everything is close by, a lot of options around. People like to experiment.
Yeah.
Say Bangalore, it is beers. Like
Mm.
you get
Yeah.
this massive breweries and things like that. Goa is a mix of everything right now.
Of course.
Production units, new brands launching.
Yep.
It's a launch pad literally. A lot of bartenders has moved down to Goa market to build up those space and things.
Yeah.
Amazing things are happening in Indian market right now, and
True.
it's a great place to be to build a
Mhm.
career.
Right.
I would say build a career.
Okay. I was saying, why don't you tell us about your journey? How did you start? Did you go to some institute where you learned about mixology? And then when did you start working? How has been the experience?
This story has never changed for me. This actually started with a bet. Bartending for me started with a bet with one of my best friends.
Wow.
His name
Okay.
is Saurav Tiwari.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like always in the gang of people in the college, that sort of.
Right.
He was flipping a bottle. I asked him to give me the bottle. I flipped it. I broke the bottle. The bet started like, you cannot do this in your life, sort of a thing. Then you learn that stuff. Then it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly a chef see you doing all of these flips and juggle. He gives you an opportunity to work at the bar. So I started working with Taj,
Wow.
like that. Then weekends, pocket money is coming in, fun at work. So
Right.
it continued for 2 years. And the second year, I joined one of the properties in Kerala, which
Mm-hmm.
was called Muthoot Plaza. Then now it is Hilton.
Okay.
There they used to have this concept called Saturday Night Fever.
Okay.
I used to that is basically a flair bartending event. So you can tend the bar, you can make drinks and cocktails and things like that. Post that, I got a job in Four Seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I competed for Bacardi Legacy Bacardi Martini Grand Prix,
Okay.
which is that time competition which allows you to be at flair bartending and at the same time do mixology also. So it was a competition parallel happening in two sides. I
Okay.
competed for both. I got through the flair part and as a regional champion. Like the two of us got selected, so
Mm-hmm.
that became my first flight ticket to Delhi and go there, compete in the nationals. Nothing happened, but it gave me a greater opportunity that the newspapers in Kerala started writing about.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big clip of written on Sunday news about this
Okay.
guy going to and doing this championship and things like that. That became my ticket to Four Seasons here. So I
Mm-hmm.
started at Four Seasons at Panchi, the Asian restaurant.
Okay.
Then from there, I got to transfer to Air Bar and Lounge, and Air has been amazing. Like one of the best bars in the city, almost 10 years old now.
Okay.
So while I was there, all this year in Bombay, I got exposed to a lot of competition, like 10, you can say 10 to 13 competition I went through.
Wow.
So for competition I won it in 2009,
Mm-hmm.
and 10, 11, 12, 3 years, literally nothing happened, but I went to 9 to 10 competition back to back. So
Mm-hmm.
it just keeps improving your
Skill. Yeah.
skills, and you know where you're standing. You say, okay, that it is good. The guys, the perfume is amazing. So you keep on learning how as a person and what you need to do at a particular bar and things like that. So, and finally in 2013, I won world class for India, represent the country. And I
Nice.
went there. It was amazing. Like I understood what it is, and trust me, that was my first international flight. So
Okay.
all paid by Diageo. So then you come to know now how much you see. If there is no other opportunities, you say in Indian market, but the best opportunity is being in what do you say, being in a competition and just keep pursuing. I've seen people like even people who came after me to
Mm-hmm.
compete for world class. They have done multiple times. When again you compete. 2013, once I won it, then I felt like maybe one more time I should. So it was like it was very tough that time because that in a year's time period the competition changes, the level of skill set changes because people are
Yeah.
again going preparing and coming back. So it's like either win or lose. And
Right. Yeah.
2014, I won the competition again, won world class again. So went to London and Scotland. So it sort of completed a journey for me with Diageo. Then the next year, I got an opportunity with Diageo to work with them
Mhm.
as brand ambassador, regional brand ambassador for Bombay and
Mhm.
for their luxury brands.
Okay.
So almost 1.5 years work with them. Then the next thing happens is I get an opportunity to work with a company called Gourmet Investments, which is they run Pizza Express.
Mhm.
Then the Ministry of Crab, they had a couple of project series they'd opened. When I was leaving the company, they also had taken over Chili's for the South, and so this company actually gave me this opportunity to go all across from north to south, build
Mhm.
bars. So it was a new opportunity for me. I never done bars, right? Not made a bar. So in a year's time period, almost built 7 bars. So there's a great team
Wow.
that I worked with. And eventually, if you pandemic stuck, then things were not working well for bar. Then I decided, maybe I should move on and do something of my own. Then finally, it just gave me the courage to start something called Bar Bunch.
Bar bundle.
So far, that is a journey from where it started and where I stand right now.
Yeah, I was just, my next question was anyways about Bar Bundle. So, what all do you do under this brand?
So, Bar Bundle, first of all, is a private limited company. So, so we're exploring the opportunities of what you need to. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I do, there are 4 things that I do under Bar Bundle. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
First being new product development, or you can call it NPD.
Right.
So, the first and one of the most amazing projects I'm still working with it is Inecan Cocktails.
Okay.
So it is run by this. There are 2 gentlemen who owns a company called RM Beverages,
Mm-hmm.
Samir Mirashkar and Viraj Sawant. Both are from industry. I know Viraj for a long time. So these guys had this idea of why don't we do something in between pandemic this happened, like why don't we do this particular cocktail in a can project. So
Mm-hmm.
so we traveled almost 20,000 kilometers by road because everything was shut. We were traveling in
Right.
a car from Bombay to Karnataka to Goa. It's like we've been 3 to 4 months we're doing just to make sure that the product is ready. Couple of
Okay.
like almost 3 rounds of trial and error, multiple almost 600 people tasting the drinks and giving
Mm-hmm.
us feedback, good, bad, ugly, everything. So finally, the product is out. Very happy with that. So we have 5 variants: gin and tonic with rosemary. There's something called rum latte, which is rum, coffee, hazelnut, cola.
Nice.
Then there is something called whiskey Collins, which is whiskey, apple, cinnamon. Then there is something called Long Island. You know what a Long Island
Oh,
is. I don't have
of
to
course.
explain that to you. And vodka mule is ginger, citrus, and vodka. It's fine new fun cans. It's currently available in Goa, and recently they are launched in UP market. So that is
Nice.
the NPD part of mine. So
Mm-hmm.
similarly, I also work with few other things in NPD part. Maybe I cannot tell you what because it's still undergoing. So
Okay.
which is related to bars. Few products I still work on, but one of the major NPD project that I do is with Inek and RM Beverages.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one segment of Bar Bundle.
Uh-huh.
Second is education. So this happened right in middle again right in the middle of pandemic. There was an idea either to do online through Bar Bundle or tie up with an institute which is in Bombay. So it made more sense to tie up with an institute because nobody else I think is doing it, like two different what do you say, companies coming together and making one particular program. So we had
Mm-hmm.
this idea, went to Madhushala School of Beverages, met this gentleman, Mr. Abhijit Roy, who is the founder. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lady called Simran, then there's a gentleman called Kranti. So all of these are guys who are there already teaching their own programs. So I said, like, why don't we do this thing? Like, we together curate something called the beverage program. Like I said, it's a 4 month course, Monday to Friday, 3 to 4 hours. Sit down theory. Since it's a smaller batch, it's easy for us to explain things to
Right.
everybody. If there is an issue, you can find it out, and we can, fun. Like education is difficult and it's fun at the same time. So this is a project that I'm looking for a long time and see where it goes. And all of us, the team, like I myself, uh, and the team of entire Madhushala School of Beverages, they are also excited. So this is first of all first time some two companies doing one program,
Right.
and they're happy
So
with
it
it.
has
They're
already started?
just our first batch is already passed out.
Done. Oh,
The
wow.
second batch has started like this month. Sorry, last month end. The second batch has started, and Madhushala got this ISO certification. So our certificate carries a good value of ISO into it. So
Of course.
things looks nice, bright, fun. So that is the education part, and the program is called the beverage program. So coming to the third one is I would say my core, that is building bars.
Mm-hmm.
Basically bar consultancies. I had started on one project which is currently in Goa.
Mm-hmm.
So my the way I work is like either I give 30 days, 20 to 30 days to a particular place, so that, and it divides into 6 months or to, what do you say, 4 months, because that is required to set up, train, assess,
And
and redo if something is required to change, right?
right.
Because sometimes certain things might not work. Not everybody will like it. You cannot predict how the market,
Yeah.
it's the owner's vision, it's your thought process, and the comes through the place.
Yeah.
Sometimes you plug in the wrong drink. For example, I can give you I cannot give an old fashioned or a Negroni. These are like strong, bitter sided drinks
Mm-hmm.
to somebody who drinks a cosmopolitan.
True. Yeah.
So this understanding you can only get once the market starts, people consume and see, what
Yeah.
is happening in the market. So bar consultancy is something that I do. Like I said, I usually, like, if there are too many things happening, there is someone I usually ask to work with me. Like, there are enough of bartenders in the city or some other consultant. Like, again, it's a joint venture at times.
Mm-hmm.
If there are too many projects, maybe I ask somebody to help me out for 10 days and I start the work, then carry
Right.
on with it.
So you
So
collaborate
this
with someone.
so this helps me to reach out to multiple people in multiple cities sitting at Bombay, and I know the talents which are sitting there.
Right.
They are also compensated in this manner. So this is one way that I'm working with all the bar projects that comes on my, and
Mm-hmm.
I believe like needs that 20 to 30 days of your time or
Right.
your representation over there to build that property properly.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully things are good over there. I'm still there. Like the project is ongoing. The bar is open. It is called, it's actually a cafe bar. It is called Neighbors,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
which is an amazing spot in Goa. So you should, at Azagao. Please check it out if
Okay.
you're around in Goa.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Next
So,
time I visit, I'll definitely.
and the fourth part, which actually was a thought process which came in because completely due to pandemic, which
Mm-hmm.
is content curation, like doing videos and photos with your iPhone and whatever
Right.
capabilities that you have of editing, and
Mm-hmm.
help brands, because where you're also part of that industry that people might know you.
Right.
So it helps for brands also. Okay, there is a new brand which is launching into the market, and this is a person who is working with it, or these are the, if you just have to educate it properly through a social media platform like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Right.
So I work with currently I'm working with Matthew Tessier syrups, the
Mm-hmm.
French syrup, amazing product, London Essence tonic, and
Mm-hmm.
Britvic mixes. So these are three brands I work with to create content. So these are the four different.
Wow.
I can't say that, like, I'm a social media influencer. It is not that. It's just fun of doing it.
Right.
You are also in that phase somewhere. Okay, your content is you feel good about it when you do that sort of a thing. These are the
Mhm.
four things that I do under Barbundle.
Barbundle.
There are immense opportunities like that I can focus into, like bar can be, you can get into FME controls, you can get into blogging, write newsletters, you have a website of you. So the opportunity is sitting there, but
Of
you have
course.
only two hands.
And 24 hours.
Yeah, the scope is I will say it is a lot more, but currently these are the main key focus area where I know, like somewhere these are my strengths as well, where I can pitch in and do things.
Interesting. Okay.
So that
Um,
is Bar Bundle by Varun Sudhakar. The company is called that.
nice. Okay. So, what advice would you give to our audience out there who are maybe interested into get into this profession?
See, it is very simple. I would like treat it like how a chef starts his journey, because this is also skill driven process.
Right.
Techniques comes to you once you practice this. It takes time. Your understanding of sweet and sour,
Mm-hmm.
freshness, how certain zest work, aromas basically. I'm talking how those work. When you have this understanding,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have that fire in your belly to go for competitions like Indian market, I do suggest like compete, because it is a proven thing that who has been competing so far have that courage to compete. They've been always, they had reached somewhere, they
Mm-hmm.
had climbed the ladder. There are brand ambassadors, there are pan India level educators, the content curators.
Mm-hmm.
So business owners, literally there are now bar owners. Like I know a bartender who becomes a brand ambassador, then he becomes a bar owner. So
Right.
that is dream for a lot of people, right? And there's
Of
somebody is
course.
living it. See, it is possible. It is only telling you is like if you
Mm-hmm.
push it hard, is also a great place to be in. A lot of things to learn. Like every day somebody is writing a new book. So enough of educational content is there. You can learn. You can be at the bar. You have been so, but give it a little bit more time.
Right.
I'm not talking about 10 years giving and seeing, because the 10-year gap is no more there. Now 5 years, 3 years, within that time you can become a great bartender. Just that constant practice, constant educate yourself, go for competitions. I will always say anybody, go for a competition. Win or lose doesn't matter. Go, go, go.
Right. Cool. Okay. And so you have been to all these competitions. You have won in these competitions. You have represented India. Any special memory that you have that you would like to share today?
So 2014
Mm-hmm.
work class, okay, the whole time period which I spent in the whole journey is something I would say started changing the way I look into bartending as a profession, or it gave me so much of understand the power of being in this industry, or where it can take you. So I
Mm-hmm.
will tell you, 2014 I won the competition. There was few mistakes I made, and there was, I would say, there was a little bit of luck, which is
Okay.
what happened was, first of all, meeting a mentor. Like I had a mentor, Mr. Raveen Mishra, who was from Singapore. He was that time India. He was taking care of India as well as Bombay, and
Mm-hmm.
he was a mentor for whoever is winning world class that year.
Okay.
So I got to meet him, like a person absolutely brilliant. Like helped me a lot to learn about bartending, how to look into life,
Mm-hmm.
not come out of that box of bartending, look into your life as sort of a learning he had given to me, which
Okay.
I still now shares with other people that I meet,
Mm-hmm.
right? So one is meeting that person, then the whole journey of mistakes that you do, like you won 2013 and 2014, you go like, okay, maybe I've been it, something
Right.
hits your head, right? That was
Yeah.
there. And suddenly I do some mistake and I'm out of the competition. The
Okay.
journey is done.
Mm-hmm.
But every time you do something, you're like, there's an exam happens, like there are 3 rounds, you
Okay.
complete exam, okay, learn, exam, compete, learn, exam. compete. So that was a pattern of work last that year.
Mhm.
So one of those I slept off.
Oh my God, really?
Slept off in the sense I cannot justify all of these like why I slept off and things, but happened.
Okay.
Thankfully, I was able to write the exam because
Okay.
somewhere I listened, then I wrote it because whatever I knew, I wrote it. I was out of the competition. Somewhere that year, I guess there are 20 people who are supposed to be in that competition in
Mhm.
the top 20. And I don't know, maybe I was in 23 or something like that.
Okay.
And randomly, three people just leave the competition for different. Somebody is going to cruise liner, somebody got another job, somebody won another competition, want to go. And like I said, luck. The 23rd guy becomes the 20th guy.
Oh wow. Okay.
When that happens to you, something triggers, like somewhere your focus shifts, like I'm getting a chance, I'm actually getting a third chance, not a second
Right.
chance.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything into it, literally, like focused, tried my level to learn the brand, learn about the cocktails, last minute changes.
Okay.
Finally, when I've won the competition, that is a moment I felt like this is something, like you feel you achieved something, and this is going to change your life. A lot
Mhm.
of emotional things happening here and there, and that is a moment I say changed everything for me. Like jobs changed, the way you think changed, the number of people that you are meeting. But end of the day, one thing I would also try to tell a lot of people is like, you win a competition, keep it very subtle.
Right.
Move on. After that first year, move on, go. If you want to compete, but make sure that be humble
Right.
and progress with whatever you do. I also try to do the same. Pace might be not that, like, it depends upon where you are and what you're doing at that point of time. But somebody asks for help, make sure you turn back and help them. And if
Right.
somebody is asking you for something, be humble.
Right.
So see, when you win a competition, it puts you in the map of India, saying that these are the guys from these are cities. Plus,
Right.
you get connected to mentors, more mentors that comes into your life. You can reach out to people. Then, of course, social media, um, brands, magazines will have a little space for you, which helps you again bring in your value for another
Right.
job.
Yeah.
So it's a ladder for you to
Yeah.
climb. You don't get stuck in between. Okay, I won a competition.
Right.
Make sure that that 1 year you use it properly. Get into the next job, or even if the same company giving you a better hike, better position, take it. But make sure you don't misuse it. Don't bargain with it.
Right.
No, I won this, so I'm leaving. No, like I'm getting
Yeah,
this
don't let it
opportunity.
get to your head.
The industry is so small. People talk to each other.
Of course.
So this is something about it's very personal thing. Maybe I am just sharing it. Maybe the reality is different, but this is what I felt.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, we've been talking about mixology and cocktails. Which one is your favorite cocktail? I mean, what is your go-to cocktail?
Go to cocktail, like one thing. See, a drink called Negroni. It's Campari,
Mhm.
sweet vermouth. It's very simple. Almost equal amount going inside. I stood up. And this is not because I've been drinking Negroni since the time I have been in bartending. It's because I got introduced to that particular product called Campari,
Mhm.
which is bitter sweet. It's
Yeah.
actually drinkable bitter. But I somehow found it very amusing. Like I like that product. It's just amazing. Like,
Okay.
and this cocktail actually complements the product altogether. That is the reason I like it. I'm an
Okay.
old moon Coke guy also. I can drink that like I can anytime.
Mhm.
But from a cocktail perspective, this is something my go-to cocktail. I love it.
Campari is the one that is red, no?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I was reading about it yesterday only. I think it's named after some Italian guy,
yes.
right? And they used to use that red color used to come from some insect or something before, and now they
That
use
is
a
called
dye.
Carmen. Before it was that the product was for Carmen, if I'm not wrong. I read it long time back.
Mhm.
Recently didn't read it. But now I think they don't do this natural coloring. It is
Yeah, it's a artificial color now.
Campari. It's an amazing product. Try it.
Okay, I will now. Okay, so why don't we try a few cocktails?
Yeah.
I have stuff that you told me about. I've ordered everything, so you'll teach me to make a cocktail today. Yeah,
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
Okay, let's go
This
for
time
it.
I'm not working on the other side of this.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get this party started. Let's start making cocktails. So Varun has given me the ingredients. I have everything here. So Varun, why don't you tell me how do we start?
Okay, so this is a very common drink and well known in the market. It is called the daiquiri.
Yeah.
Very easy to make. You can make it at home also, right? Just need three ingredients: rum, like white rum;
Mhm.
lime juice, like freshly squeezed green lime juice; and sugar syrup. So at home, it's easy to do with sugar syrup. You can make a little bit of sugar syrup and keep it. So very all these drinks, it is balancing the sweet and sour, and
Correct.
once you get it, you can almost do any cocktails. So these are very basic cocktails. So
Mhm.
ideally, you should start off with having a nice martini glass or a coupe glass at home. Yeah, I hope you got one. And
Here it is.
okay, so the second is if you don't have a cocktail shaker, maybe a flask or something that don't break, but it's a small portion that you need to make,
Right.
like a mason jar or something like that. You can use it.
Mhm.
And technically, it's always ice last. You put all the drinks to all the ingredients inside the shaker and things like that. But at home, make it your will. That's what I will say. So maybe we can start off with the recipe. You can add 15 ml of lime juice,
15. Okay.
approx 15 ml.
I have taken this chotu
It's,
thermos that I had in my
it's
house.
fine. It's fine. 15 ml. I think that is fairly good enough. Like I saw it, like yeah, that much is around 15 ml only.
Okay.
Yeah, add 15 ml of or 20, 15 to 20 ml in between that sugar syrup.
Alrighty.
We all have a sweet tooth, so have 20 ml is fine.
Do you think this must?
A little more, maybe. A little more. Done. 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 And take a white rum.
Mm-hmm.
White rum, yeah. Pour the entire thing into it. Yeah. You can.
I have already kept ice in this.
I hope you have strained the water out.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So you quickly give a nice shake. Use both your hands. It will be easier.
Okay.
Yeah. You need to shake it very hard.
Sorry?
You just shake it very hard.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. No, usually we shake a little more. Let it dilute, let it mix properly.
Okay.
Okay, I think that is good enough. You just open it and strain it down into that martini glass.
All right.
You can use a tea strainer at home if you have, the one that you make tea.
Yeah,
Strainer.
I've taken that. Mm-hmm. Okay, there we are.
Well, that's a daiquiri. You don't need a garnish for a daiquiri. It is slightly strong because the alcohol amount is, but it's a very refreshing cocktail. And just
Let me just try it. Nice. I like it.
so the first time when you make it, you'll always get to know how much sugar you need, how much.
I think this is just about right. Sweet and sour.
Okay, okay. See, always, remember to start from a little lesser portion, like, lime juice and all, 15 is a safe zone.
Right.
Anything above it, you need to figure it out how it is going to work. So that's your daiquiri.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, well, so what's next?
So it's a very common thing again, but it's a classic cocktail. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
called whiskey sour.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the ingredients, I can run you through
Yep.
the cocktail. Okay.
Yep.
So one
Let's
thing
get
about
started.
so Italian lemon juice, like the Italian lemons, is what usually used to make whiskey sour. But India, the availability is pretty less. The
Right.
difference is a little more fragrant, more flavorful, but you can still make it with a lime juice. At home, you don't need Italian lime. So if you
Got it.
can figure out to get a bottle of bourbon whiskey, like you have in like bottled in India,
Yep.
bourbon whiskey is available. So you can get one of those. Great way to start a whiskey sour. Okay.
Yeah. So I've got JNB.
It's
That's
fine. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. JNB is not a bourbon, but still you can make a whiskey
oh,
sour.
I always thought it's a bourbon.
No, no.
Oh,
So,
Jimbim is bourbon.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I have Jimbim also. But
So why don't you pick it up?
okay.
Okay. So ideally you can start off with adding 15 ml of the same amount that you used to make the daiquiri.
Yeah.
Make 15 ml of that much ice. Sorry, that much of lime juice.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a peg measure soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will now.
Yeah. And
We have lime.
sugar syrup around 15 to 20 ml.
20 ml.
Max 20, but in between that range. And yeah, 60 ml of pour the entire alcohol into it, around 60 ml.
Okay. Oh.
That's fine. And like usually, it needs a little texture, so we use egg white or something called Stilibin, which is a substitute for egg white. In fact, you might not be having Stilibin, so you can use egg white. Around
Yeah,
20,
I have egg
20,
white here.
yeah, 20 ml. You can put the entire stuff in this one. Around half an egg.
Yeah.
So once you put egg, you need to remember is you need to close it and start shaking it immediately. Take it. Oh yeah, yeah. There is eyes, right? Make it vigorous so that it incorporate a lot of air. The texture changes. So please don't stop.
You think this is enough?
A little more.
Little more.
I think it's cold, right? Nice and
Yeah.
cold. Yeah, now it's fine. Open it and strain it into an ice filled.
Yeah.
Run it through a strainer. It will have a nice white froth, look nice. So that is the texture usually what we give for a whiskey sour. And this is called whiskey sour on the rocks.
Yeah.
Actually, you should have strained it on top of ice. There needs to be ice in this, but it's fine.
I had put ice in this also. That's what you mean, right?
Like a lot of ice.
Oh, lot of ice. Oh, I thought it's just little bit.
It's fine. It's fine. And it is usually garnished with a zest of lemon or orange. If you can grab one of those and just put it, it gives a little aroma. It's nice. So cheers. Try it out.
Mm-mm. I think I added the lime juice a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah, that's why
off there.
that's why you need peg measures at home.
Yeah, I got to get it now.
Yeah, and if you have a little more rum left, maybe there's another drink that we usually call it rum and coke, but there is a nice name for it. It's called Cuba Libre.
Yeah.
It's one part of rum in a tall glass, a lot of ice. Okay, just pour rum in, and usually 2 times. Like if you're putting 60 ml, put 120 ml of Coke or cola. Use a nice wedge of lime and drop it. It's called Cuba Libre.
Got it. So
plain
I don't have the tall glass right now, so I'm just gonna use the raw glass. That's
But at the end of the day, it was a stylish version of ramen cola.
Yeah. All right. So let's make Cuba Libre.
Yeah, it's called a Cuba Libre. Basically, it's a rum and coke, but it existed. Got a nice history if you go and read about it. So it's one part of rum filled up with a lot of ice in a glass, ideally long glass, not a rock glass since you don't have, but and two parts of cola into it, exactly in two parts, and squeeze a nice wedge of lime into it, and it's done. Good to go. It's a rum and coke.
There we are.
Yes. And make sure you use a lot of ice next time.
Yeah. I like this.
The easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
So that's it, like 3 cocktails.
Yeah. Most easy ones. Anyone can make them at home.
Yeah.
And so cool. Thank you, Varun. I'm gonna, put your link for your bar bundle and your program that's called
the beverage program.
The beverage program, yes.
Yeah.
So people who are interested to know more about it and work with Varun, just check out the description. And I'll add his Instagram link as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Varun.
So that's it. Just one message: drink responsibly. Make sure you have a lot of water if you're drinking, and have food. Don't drink and drive.
Oh, of
Very
course.
important. Okay. Cheers and have a great day.
Cheers. Delicious. So, guys, I hope you liked the episode. Enjoyed watching me clumsily make the cocktails because I definitely enjoyed making them. And I'm going to enjoy drinking them in a bit. So, you guys, please like, comment, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends. And come on, start sending me your funny stories. 2 people with the most funniest story are going to get a chance to come on the show and win a surprise gift. This podcast is made as a part of Podcast Lab by India Film Project in association with Anchor by Spotify. And before we say our goodbye, a mandatory disclaimer. Alcohol is injurious to health. Exercise caution. So, I think that's it for today. I'm gonna go now because these cocktails are calling me. I'll see you next Saturday. And until then, remember, life is a grand party. Live like it. Cheers.